quiet of night, I whispered my plea, holding her close, hoping for her decree.
A maker lifts a leather figure by its central handle and turns it toward the unlit cloth. One edge has split, not dramatically, just a narrow tear, almost invisible in the workshop's fading light. But if it travels farther, tonight's character may disappear before the story begins. The maker runs a thumb along the damaged edge, checks the balance, and reaches for a thin strip of prepared hide. In Sbek Thom, the shadow is never only an image. It is material, labor, timing, memory, and risk. What does it take to make a shadow survive?
The screen is still pale. The lamp is still dark. Around it, people are preparing the parts an audience may never notice. A tool being set down, a figure being checked, a costume being adjusted, a musician listening for the first cue. Then, a small tapping sound crosses the room. Not a performance yet, a test. The leather answers with a dry, delicate knock.
You're listening to Ancient Echoes KH. I'm Samnang Bradley. Tonight, we are walking into Sbek Thom, Cambodia's Grand Shadow Theater, to follow one question from workshop to performance. How can a carved piece of hide become a living story without losing the people and responsibilities behind it? We will look at the craft of the figure, the bodies moving behind the screen, the music and narration that give the image its pulse, and the teachers who pass on knowledge that cannot be learned from a photograph alone.
Before we call anything ancient, let's notice what is happening now. Someone is making a decision about a damaged edge. Someone else is measuring distance from the lamp. A performer is remembering how much strength the figure requires. A musician is waiting for the right moment to begin. This is not a relic waking from sleep. It is a group of people doing skilled work in the present. The name Sbek Thom is commonly translated as large leather or large hide. The word points us toward the material, but also toward scale. These figures are not tiny puppets held close to the face. They can be broad, tall, and demanding to carry. Their silhouettes must read across a performance mace, yet they may also contain hundreds of pierced openings, each one allowing light to pass through.
There are other Cambodian shadow forms, including performances that use smaller or articulated figures and create a different relationship between hand, puppets, and audience. Sbek Thom has its own visual grammar. The figure can be a character, but it can also become
a whole moving wall. That is the image I keep returning to. A body of leather crossing the screen large enough to fill the imagination, while a performer's body works below and behind it. The effect may look effortless from the audience. It is not effortless. The apparent simplicity is the visible surface of coordination.
Historical records do not always give us one perfectly continuous account of a performance tradition. We have written descriptions, museum objects, temple associations, oral histories, family knowledge, and the testimony of practitioners. These sources do not always emphasize the same things. A catalog may describe a figure's dimensions. A performer may begin with its weight, its grip, and the way it behaves in wind. Both kinds of knowledge matter, and neither should automatically speak over the other.
UNESCO's documentation of Sbek Thom recognizes Khmer shadow theater as an important form of intangible cultural heritage. That recognition can bring attention and support, but a listing cannot perform the art. It cannot carry a figure across uneven ground. It cannot correct a student's hand. It cannot decide whether a particular performance belongs in a ceremony, a school, a museum, or a public stage. Those decisions remain human, local, and specific.
I want to pause over that last point, because it is easy to treat preservation as a simple contest between old and new. I used to hear the word preservation and imagine keeping an art form unchanged, as though change itself were evidence of failure. I am not sure I believe that anymore. A tradition can change because circumstances change. The more important questions are, who has agency, who receives credit, who benefits, and whether the practice remains meaningful to the people who carry it.
But there is a real tension here. A shorter stage presentation may help young audiences encounter Sbek Thom. It may make touring possible. It may provide income for artists. At the same time, shortening a performance can remove the patience, repetition, ritual frame, or musical development through which meaning is felt. So the question is not whether adaptation is good or bad. The question is, what is being changed, who decides, and what must remain visible when the format becomes smaller?
Let's return to the workshop. Imagine the figure before it has a face, a crown, or a name. The hide lies flat. What does the maker notice first? Thickness, strength, surface, flexibility. A figure that is too heavy will exhaust the performer. One that is too fragile may not survive handling. The material is already making demands before the design begins.
The hide is cleaned and prepared according to the maker's practice. It may be stretched, dried, treated, and checked again. I am being deliberately careful with that wording. Workshops do not all follow one universal recipe, and a general description should not pretend to replace local instruction. What we can say is that the maker is preparing a surface with two demands in mind. It must hold a design, and it must transmit light.
Then comes the line. A curve may become a shoulder. A narrow opening may define an eye. A series of cuts may suggest cloth, armor, hair, foliage, or feathers. The outline must be strong enough to read at a distance. Inside that outline, pierced patterns create another kind of drawing. When the lamp is lit, the figure is both solid and open, an edge with a constellation inside it. A tool makes a small opening, then another. The hand settles into a rhythm. Tap, lift, turn. Tap, lift, turn. The sound is modest, but the consequences are not. One misplaced cut can alter a face or weaken a joint. The maker is not decorating an object after the fact. The maker is designing how light, distance, and movement will behave later.
This is also where a common misunderstanding begins. Viewers sometimes describe the figures as beautiful because of their intricate patterns, and that response is understandable. But beauty is not the whole achievement. A beautiful figure that cannot balance, travel across the screen, or communicate a gesture has not finished its journey. Craft is being tested by performance.
The central handle matters. So does the distribution of weight. The performer needs to know where the figure wants to tip, where it can turn, and how far it can move before the silhouette becomes unreadable. A hand learns a grip. A shoulder learns endurance. Feet learn to travel while the eyes remain fixed on the screen. The performer is not hiding behind the figure. The performer is completing it.
Now imagine the space from the other side. The audience sees a figure appear, but the figure does not move by itself. One person may carry it. Another may help coordinate entrances. A narrator gives the story a voice. Musicians shape the atmosphere and pace. People manage the lamp, the screen, the surrounding space, and the practical flow of the performance. The image is singular. The work is collective.
The lamp is the meeting point. Leather on one side, audience on the other. Light between them. Move the figure closer to the light, and its shadow may enlarge. change the angle, and the outline may sharpen or soften. Shift the distance from the screen, and a gesture can become clear or dissolve. In this theater, light is not decoration. Light is an active partner.
Let's listen to the sequence without pretending that a recording can reproduce the whole event. First, the room tone. Then, a footstep. A figure is lifted. Leather moves through air. A musician tests a pulse. The pulse stops. Someone waits. The audience, which was talking a moment earlier, becomes quiet enough to hear the next movement.
A drum pattern can make a step feel ceremonial. A quicker rhythm can sharpen urgency. A pause can hold a figure in place until attention itself becomes part of the performance. This is why music should not be described as background. It organizes time. Narration gives continuity. Movement gives the eye something to follow. Together, they teach an audience how to receive the story.
Many audiences know at least something of the Reamker, the Khmer literary and performance tradition related to the Rama story. That familiarity changes the experience. A performance does not always need to explain every name, motive, or transition from the beginning. A repeated entrance, a recognizable gesture, or a shift in musical feeling may carry knowledge that is shared in the room.
For listeners encountering the Reamker for the first time, a brief summary can help. But a summary cannot replace performance knowledge. It may tell us that loyalty is tested, that journeys cross human and other than human worlds, or that conflict changes relationships. It cannot tell us what a particular gesture means in a particular Khmer performance practice, or how a musician makes an entrance feel remembered before the figure has fully arrived. That distinction protects the story from becoming a decorative plot. The Reamker is not simply a sequence of events waiting to be translated for outsiders. It is also a field of performance choices, ethical questions, relationships, humor, repetition, and recognition. The same broad narrative can feel different depending on the performers, the setting, the audience, the occasion, and the time available.
There may be humor in a performance, too. A figure can enter with a gesture that the audience understands immediately. A pause can invite a laugh. A familiar character can carry a history of response. That laughter is not a break from serious culture. It is evidence that the performance is being received by people in a room at a particular moment.
Context matters, especially when performance has connections to ceremony, community observance, or sacred space. A presentation arranged for visitors is not automatically the same as a ceremonial setting. A figure visible on a stage is not automatically available to touch, imitate, reproduce, or photograph. Hospitality can be generous while still having boundaries. Welcome does not mean unlimited access. That is not a reason to keep people away. It is a reason to ask better questions. Who is presenting the work? What kind of event is this? Which parts may be recorded? Are the performers being credited? Is the program led by artists or by an organization speaking on their behalf? Responsible curiosity begins before the camera comes out.
Teaching begins in similarly ordinary moments. A young learner watches an experienced performer store a figure. Then the learner carries something lighter. The first movement may be simple. The correction may sound small. Hold the handle there. Keep your elbow lower. Do not rush the turn. Listen for the cue. But each correction connects the body to the shared timing of the group.
Apprenticeship is not only the transfer of information, it is the formation of judgment. When should a performer move? When should the figure remain still? When is a question necessary?
When should a learner watch one more time before attempting the action? Those decisions may never appear in a museum label, yet they determine whether the performance feels alive. Documentation can help. A well-made recording can support teaching, research, accessibility, and historical memory. But a recording preserves one event, not the entire relationship around it. It does not automatically preserve consent. It does not explain which parts of a performance should remain private. It does not compensate a maker, credit a musician, or ask whether a student wants their image shared. That is why permissions should be specific. May we record the full performance or only the introduction? May we photograph the figures before the show? May an excerpt be used in a classroom? May the audio appear online? A general request to document culture is not enough. People deserve to know where their work will go and how it will be used. For a visitor, the etiquette is straightforward. Follow the venue's instructions. Ask before recording. Accept no without argument. Do not touch figures, instruments, costumes, or performance areas unless invited. Keep a phone's screen dim during the show. If a program offers performer names, save them. If it offers a credit line, use it when you share a review or photograph. These actions are small, but they change the relationship between audience and artist. You can also support the practice without turning it into a souvenir hunt. Attend artist-led programs. Pay the stated admission. Purchase approved publications or crafts when those are offered. Read the organization's information about permissions and credits. Share the name of the art form and the people who made the experience possible, not only an uncaptioned image that treats the screen as scenery. A few Khmer words can also change the quality of a conversation. Sbek refers to leather or hide. Thom means large. Sbek Thom, then, points us toward the large leather figures at the heart of this tradition. The pronunciation may take practice, and that is fine. Learning a term is not a performance of expertise. It is a sign that you are willing to meet the art on more precise terms.
And precision matters because broad labels can hide differences. Saying shadow theater tells us something, but not everything. Saying Sbek Thom directs our attention to a particular Khmer form, with its own materials, scale, performance relationships, histories, and responsibilities. The more specific our language becomes, the less likely we are to flatten several traditions into one attractive image. There are practical challenges behind every hopeful account of continuity. Leather and tools cost money. Performers need time to rehearse. Young people may have school, work, and family responsibilities. A long performance may not fit a contemporary venue. A workshop may need space, equipment, and a reliable audience. Preservation is not only admiration. It is sustained support for the conditions that let artists practice.
That is also why cultural organizations and researchers should be careful about the word access. Access for whom? Access to watch, access to learn, access to archive, access to publish. These are not identical. A community may welcome a public performance while limiting the circulation of certain images or recordings. A teacher may share a movement exercise in class, but not release a complete ceremonial sequence online. The deeper responsibility is to resist the idea that every beautiful thing must become endlessly available. Some knowledge grows through relationship. Some images require permission. Some experiences should remain attached to the people and places that give them meaning. Respect does not reduce the art. It helps prevent attention from becoming extraction. Let's go back to the figure with the torn edge. The repair is finished. The maker tests it once more, not by admiring it in stillness, but by lifting it. The figure tilts. The grip changes. It settles. That little adjustment contains a lesson. An object can be preserved physically and still require renewed knowledge to become a performance. The lamp comes on. At first, the screen holds only a pale glow.
Then an edge appears, a crown, a hand, a body larger than the person carrying it. The audience recognizes that something has begun even before the story has explained itself. Leather has become silhouette. Silhouette has become movement. Movement has become a shared act of attention.
This is what Sbek Thom offers us when we listen beyond the spectacle. It shows how material knowledge can become visual language. It shows how music can organize memory. It shows how a performer's balance can make a carved figure seem alive. It shows how an audience participates simply by knowing when to laugh, when to wait, and when to let the screen hold the room.
The tradition is not alive because it has escaped change. It is alive because people continue to make choices about it. They select materials. They teach movements. They adapt stages. They protect permissions. They decide what can be shared, what must be credited, and what kind of audience the performance is inviting. Heritage is not simply what survives from the past. It is what people choose, together and across generations, to care for in the present.
For this episode, the show notes include the full transcript, accessibility descriptions for the soundscape, background on Sbek Thom and the Reamker, UNESCO documentation, and guidance for finding legitimate artist-led programs. They also explain how recordings and musical materials should be credited. Please check the current guidance of each venue or organization, because permission belongs to the people presenting the work, not to a general idea of cultural access. If you visit a performance, bring patience. Listen before reaching for a camera. Ask who made the figures. Ask who is performing. Ask whether you may record, and accept the answer. If you are learning from the tradition, name your teachers and follow their guidance. If you are sharing it, make the artists visible as artists.
And if this episode helped you hear Cambodian performance differently, subscribe to Ancient Echoes KH wherever you listen. Read the transcript and source notes, share the episode with a traveler, student, artist, or member of the Cambodian diaspora, and support authorized performers and cultural organizations when you can. The screen is quiet again. The figure has been carried away from the lamp. Its repaired edge is still there, but it held. Tomorrow, someone may lift it once more. Someone may teach a new hand where to grip. Someone may listen for the first drum. Ancient stones, modern stories, warm welcomes. Quiet stones, loud stories.
Oh, shining diamond, flawless and red, you stand so quiet, soft in the air. I dared not to rush you, feared you'd flee. Your heart too pure to belong to me. If you turn away, I reach and bind, press my hand, still body and mind. Your brows I trace, your breath I steal. This mark I place is dark and real. From this moment break and fall, hear the spell, obey the call. False love born from sacred lies, second one whispers through closed eyes. Follow me, don't fight, don't run, your soul is caught, my work is done. crystal beauty, diamond bright, caught between shadow, charm, and night. Time won't save you, truth won't last. This vow is carved, the line is cast. My words are smoke, my touch is fire. I bend your heart to dark desire.